Good evening, my dear people. I want to continue my lecture series on Obanje series. Last time I did volume 1, today is volume 2. And what I'm going to focus today on volume 2 is Ezenwayi concept. Ezenwayi is a concept in Igbo land. It's a spiritual cultural concept whereby a woman is dedicated to the goddess of the river all the days of her life. I want to focus really on these modern Ezenwayis, all those people who show themselves on social media claiming to be Ezenwayi. I want to categorically say that none of them is Ezenwayi. There can be another thing, but not Ezenwayi. None of them, because none possesses the quality and the criteria of Ezenwayi. For you to become Ezenwayi in Igbo land, it's a spiritual giving. You don't choose it. You are chosen for it from birth. And if you do not abide by it, you begin to see the repercussions. That is Igbo belief and the Igbo tradition. There are 7 things and 7 criteria that Ezenwayi must possess if you must be Ezenwayi.
So here is another misinformed individual commenting and teaching on topics he is not conversant with, and we get a lot of all those people trying to remove the context of our spirituality and our culture and give it interpretations that don't actually suit and follow our logic and what our traditions and practices really represent. And before we begin to dissect everything that he has said in this video, I'm going to start with correcting the first impression about who an Ezenwayi is. And he said that an Ezenwayi is a woman who is dedicated to a river goddess for the rest of her life, which is from infancy to adulthood, and she's going to build her shrine and live near the river. Ah, God. Okay. Now, an Ezenwayi is an aspect of the Dibia whose awo is specifically tied to performing water works and not the other way around. Now, who is a Dibia, you might say? Via our cosmology, an Dibia is referred to as a master of an esoteric knowledge or a master of knowledge. So we can even look at a professor in a way and say that a professor is a Dibia. A Dibia has nothing to do with native doctor as we. It's just like limiting the full context of what the Dibia is. Now, what makes a Dibia is this album. So when an individual is born with an album Mary or an album that is tied to cosmic intervention through water works or through water rituals, we refer to those individuals as Ezenwoki. And when that individual is born as a man, the person is referred to as Ezenwoki, while if it is a woman, she is referred to as an Ezenwayi. Although there are contexts that will tell us that an Ezenwayi is just a foreign ideology, that it does not represent our cosmology. But we need to understand that etymologically, the word Eze has nothing to do with monarch, to do with a monarch or monarchy. Rather, an Eze is basically a spiritual leader who make reference to Ezane, because back in those days in Igbo ancient society, what we had were Ezane, people that commission, spiritual leaders. So when we look at Eze in that sense, we're talking about a spiritual leader that comes in form of a woman, and not Eze as a king or as a monarch, because we need to understand that the monarchy system that we are experiencing now is an outcast of a Eurocentric colonized nation. It is not indigenous to us as Igbo. So we need to first of all correct that impression. But nonetheless, we need to first of all understand that an Ezenwayi isn't somebody who is dedicated or who was dedicated to any river goddess. An Ezenwayi is born as a result of being a Dibia whose awu is attached or tied to the water and performance of water rituals. So let's dissect every single incorrect information that he spewed in this video. Now, the myth of
Number 1 is this: whoever is an Ezenwayi is naturally born with dreadlock. Is a Nazarite, and that dreadlock could be in 3 locks, 7 locks, or 21 locks. Each of those locks, each of them has spiritual meaning. And as a Nazarite, as a dreadlock guy, you do not allow razor or comb to touch your hair till you die. That's number
of dreadlocks and numeration. There is absolutely no rule that stipulates that an Ezenwayi is under the compulsion of growing out her hair, or that he or she must be born with natural locks. Now, the specification of growing out locks come from directives from familiar spirits and familiar forces that the woman is interacting with. Now, for a woman or an Ezenwayi to grow out her natural locks, or to grow out her locks in whatever capacity, it has to come from directives from spirits, in the or spirits that gave her her gift. Now, this is what we understood in our cosmology. So it is not compulsion for it to be natural. If your familiar forces are not did not specify that you grow out your locks, it does not take away from the fact that you are a gifted individual. So he made a huge mistake by saying that an Ezenwayi is someone that must be born with natural dreadlocks and has to come with a certain number. That's just him trying to be a Christian. Now, the second
One. Number two, an SNY does not wear footwear. You go barefoot. That's SNY. The spiritual concept is this. So you have contact with the earth so that, whatever you do, you are guided by the principle of justice and the fairness, you are, and you do not do things that are abominable. That's number two.
one, he's talked about connecting to Ali by walking barefoot. Now, this thing is, he removed the context because traditionally, walking on barefoot means that you are testifying that you are a person of character, of morals, of purity. So this is what it meant. But he tried to basically bring in statements that does not basically align with our the way we see things and perceive these things. Now, he was accurate, but he failed in giving us the context because there is no compulsion that makes an Ezenwayi to walk around barefooted. This is an ignorant assertion because for an Ezenwayi to walk barefooted, you are going to look at that person as a crazy person. But the only context on which the person has to walk barefooted is when the person is performing any certain rituals, and if the person is standing before a spiritual interface, maybe even more, the person went to a shrine or went to perform a water walk, and the person would remove his or her, whatever she is wearing, and can basically perform the rites that she wants to perform. Now,
SNY is a virgin from any time you begin to walk. If you are not, there are many SNYs in Igbo land who do not marry. In fact, many SNYs in Igbo land that don't marry and they don't conceive. But if you eventually, if you're allowed to marry, you will marry as a virgin. And when you marry, your husband meets you only on a stipulated allowed date. You don't have fun with your husband without approval by the goddess of the river. You do not have anything to do with any other man on earth. But look at these called Ezenwayi we have. You can ask yourself whether any of them is abiding by this. If you are an Ezenwayi, you must be a virgin. If you are allowed to marry, your husband has fun with you only on a stipulated date. That's number three.
Virginity. As an active traditionalist, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't encountered or seen anybody being restricted from performing any spirit work on account of virginity. Even divination has not came and said, okay, because you're no longer a virgin, you're not going to, tap into this force or work. So it has nothing to do with it. And what he is trying to say here is that because he's trying to make an allegation that these women that are now referring to themselves as Ezenwayi, it's really derogatory, and I don't even know how to say it. But I just have to, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say it out. He's trying to make allegations that these women are retired prostitutes. You see where I'm driving to. So this is why he's trying to make that assumption. But traditionally there is no restriction on that. Now, intimacy with spouse, he made it seem as if before any person that is gifted becomes intimate with their partner, they have to take permission from some divine cosmic being. But that's nonsense. Now, intimacy with spouse are simply not done on specific market days. We need to get that right. It is not done on specific market days, which is mainly the market day she was born. Again, permission from which goddess of the sea? I don't know where he's getting that information from. No, these gifted women can fully get married and have kids without, taking any permission from any cosmic supreme being also. Can get married without taking any permission from any cosmic supreme being. So she just basically tells them, I'm getting married. No, definitely we before you get married, based on our cosmology, go through the divination process. But it's not you seeking permission. It is not you seeking permission, it's you aligning, making sure that the person you're trying to get married to is the person that is going to help you and allow you to grow, and to be not someone that's going to restrict you from doing the work that you and your chi has agreed that you are going to do. So he got a lot of things wrong here. Now there are situations where a cosmic contract mandates that a person, a woman doesn't, and it's not limited to Ezenwayi. It can happen to any individual, man or woman. So it is not a limitation to people that we refer to as Ezenwayi. Now the fourth
Reason why they don't live on modernities, all these modern things. Reason why naturally does not go by cutting her hair. She does not go by putting on all these modern jewelries. You are guided by the jewelries of our cultural heritage. You don't wear anything that are not cultural. That's number four. Number five,
one here is Ezenwayi does not live in modernity. Countlessly, I've heard demands from ancestral spirits urging adherents to refurbish their altars in order to suit modern realities of today. But here is a Catholic priest insinuating that representatives of these forces are not allowed to live and enjoy the perks of the modern privilege that we basically enjoy today. When I tell you that these people don't really have the right information, it's as if I'm forging something from somewhere. Who told him this? As divine beings, Allah deities, they will tell you that. Especially there is this shrine that they demolished back in the day. The deity was like, instead of them demolishing it, why don't they make it better? Why don't they refurbish it? Why don't they make it, presentable to the modern realities? So why then would those people representing those deities now not be allowed to enjoy the perks and privileges of today? Because this one, they want to position our spirituality as backward, as a cake, as not being a fan of modernity. You have to be ignorant, you have to be, God. Moving on.
Each Ezenwayi is attached to a particular river where she builds her altar, where she builds her shrine. You don't stay in Lagos or stay in America or stay in Onitsha or stay in Aba and begin to claim Ezenwayi on Facebook. If you're Ezenwayi, you are attached to a particular river where you have a point of focus, point of contact from where you move. And there must be altar, there must be shrine built where you have contact with the goddess of the river. Number
Please. So attachment to rivers where they build altars. Now each river has an Akajofo, and it's certainly not a woman. It is certainly not a woman. This position is primarily held by men. So there is no way an Ezenwani would have an altar built in reverence to any deity, especially when it has to, build it for any deity beside or around the water. Now, the attachment to water is something known as a Miru Waman. It is not peculiar and is not limited to Indians and one, but generally, different individuals with affiliation to a water can fetch this water and build an altar where they communicate and venerate the water as an aspect of that individual's origin, and they can do it at the comfort of their homes. You can do it at home. Nobody is limiting you from doing what you want to do at home. It is not under any compulsion that you build any altar at the water banks. No, you do it at home. You fetch it, take it home, you do it there. That's the Igbo cosmology. Now, the rest of the things he said didn't really need to be corrected. I think he said something. Uh, about the way they go around advertising their work. So there is no correction there. I don't even agree with it. Pasting your numbers and encouraging people online to come and visit you and all those things. It's something that we learned. It's just that, and they're not turning it into a business because it's only businesses that needs to be promoted and advertised. And where they learned that thing from is from our Christian counterparts, the ministers. It's they attach their account numbers, their numbers, call me, visit me for inquiries, all those things. So they learned it from Christians. But traditionally, it is not the way things are done. We believe that the spirits that gave you these gifts are going to bring people to you. So there is no need to correct that. He got that aspect 100%. Now this is why all I tell people is that they get a certain aspect and they mess up 1,000 other things. And if you want to like criticize, it becomes a situation of yeah, but I got this one right. You cannot get one thing right and mess up 1,000 and think it will not be corrected. Now, you need to understand that people like this have continuously given the wrong interpretation of our indigenous spirituality because they themselves are misinformed. Again, they themselves are misinformed. But with the high rate of indigenous awakening, 1,000 of us are critically looking into these systems with the aim of not just practicing, but to understand it first of all, to research it, to document it. And by that virtue, we can spot a liar and somebody or someone who is misinformed whenever we meet one. Like I was just scrolling and my eye caught that video and I watched it and I was like, what is this person talking about? And I went to the comment sections and I saw people hailing and praising him for what he said. Oh, right on, teach. They don't want you to tell us the truth. So all those people are misinformed and they don't want to do the work. And that's one thing that happens to us in this country. Nigerians, when we read something, we don't retrospect, we don't use our critical thinking. We look at people in authority and we see them as ultimate. We think we don't have to criticize them. We think they know better, even when they don't know anything. So that's it. If you see any other video like this and you want me to, and you think there's a need to criticize what the person did, just tag me or send it to me, and I'm going to do the needful and correct the negative impressions that they are trying to teach us. And until next time, let us hear.